Hello my friends and welcome back. It's Monday, so happy Monday to you. I just arrived from Kyiv, Ukraine yesterday, so I couldn't make you videos last week. But if you want to know what I did in Kyiv, then my Instagram is in the description below. We did some cool stuff, 5 days of crazy adventures. And actually, at the end of this video, I'm gonna play you a whole clip of what we did. But if you cannot wait, of course, you can check out the Instagram. My friends, these guys were in Ukraine with me and they said they go running in Tallinn 6:30 a.m. So I said, what the hell, why not? And I joined them. Today was my first day running 6:30 a.m. Look at this beautiful view and I love it. The energies, I feel vibrant. So this is one of the best things I picked up from Kyiv. But okay, I don't want to waste your time, so let's get to news about Ukraine. And my friends, there's not much positive coming out. To be real here, the situation for Ukrainians on the front is extremely difficult and they are forced to retreat right now. Trade land for Russian casualties. That is how it is. And we'll get into it, but still I'm going to begin with a more positive news. It is Easter in Ukraine. 5th of May in the Orthodox Christianity is Easter. They celebrate it 2 times in Ukraine because there are Catholics and Orthodox Christians living in Ukraine. And they have 2 different Easter dates. But as you can see from these videos, soldiers all across the front celebrated Easter and they were coloring the eggs. I'm quite sure in Western Europe and in America people also color eggs, right? And then you click them on other people's heads or with the eggs, and whose egg is the strongest, they win. It's like this funny tradition you always do with your family. Even across the fronts they still did it. But my friend Zelensky also held a speech for Easter, and the speech is beautiful and igniting, so I want to share a portion of it with you. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but a portion. Great people of great Ukraine. Today we celebrate a significant holiday, the resurrection of the Lord, Easter. Easter symbolizes the liberation of human soul from the slavery of evil and darkness. It symbolizes the victory of goodness and justice, the victory of life over death. We have been fighting for all of this for 802 days now, 802 days of freedom standing up to darkness. Valor standing up to terror. 802 days of our resistance, which can be described by the words from the Gospel of John. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. I will end it here since this speech is 8 minutes long. It is very beautiful and very on point, and I think Zelensky did a wonderful job with it. Here his former acting career really comes to play. In these situations you need a leader like that who can vocalize what people need to hear, and this is a leader. I believe in Zelensky. And my friends, I already have to apologize, but now the good news ends because this is a Ukrainian prayer house, and in Easter they all gather in the prayer houses to pray and to have birthdays and to eat festivities, Easter festivities, and Russians dropped a bomb on it, so you can see it on this video. Luckily, you could call it the Lord's miracle almost, because it didn't explode. It actually didn't. The one bomb that was dropped on Easter on a Ukrainian prayer house did not explode. In my eyes, that is a miracle. That's an Easter miracle. Call it what you want. But I'm glad this specific one did not explode. But it shows you the cynical nature of Russians in Easter. They sell themselves as the carriers of Orthodox religion and these traditional values, and at the same time they're dropping bombs on praying Ukrainians in the prayer house during Easter, one of the more sacred holidays of the Orthodoxy. Alright my friends, now a completely different topic. Now this is a United States developed drone hunting drone. It's a drone, agricultural drone, or Baba Yaga, let's face it, it's a big one, octocopter, that has, and by the way many of you have written me emails about that this should be done. But my friends, here it is done. It has a robotic arm, a gimbal or a stabilizing arm, however you want to call it, with an automated 12.7 millimeter gun. It's not a Gatling, it's just a gun. And it flies, carries the gun, sees a drone, this is a test drone sent as bait, aims at it, and takes only a single shot. Bada bim, bada boom, and the drone goes down. Now, if this system really works and you can mass produce them, they would be very good against recon drones, which are vital for both sides. But the minus, I already immediately will say about the minus of this system is that it has to be stationary to shoot. It will stabilize itself and aim for a drone. It will be taken down with a kamikaze drone. In recent weeks, we have started seeing Ukrainians hunting Russian fixed-wing recon drones, like these small plane recon drones with kamikaze drones, just flying into them. So this is obviously, since it is expensive and, look at it, it's a Terminator, it's obviously a target. So the plus sides of it, you can see them here, it destroys a drone. The negative side is it would immediately become a high-value target and they would be focused down with the Russian kamikaze drones. So unless you can defend it somehow against the kamikaze drones that come in 100 kilometers per hour, then I would say this on the front line, this is just too expensive of a system to make any kind of difference. My friends, look at this chart. This is Russian troop numbers in Ukraine. And as you can see, ever since the mobilization of 2022 September, it has been going up very fast. Very fast to 300,000, then slowly to 400,000, and now closing 500. Well, actually, this month was the month that Russian troop numbers in Ukraine crossed 500,000 in numbers. Ukrainian army supposedly is 300,000 plus. So the difference is over 100,000 right now, and it is expanding because Russians supposedly hire up to 30,000 fighters a month. Now that is their propaganda, but according to Ukrainian GUR, the numbers are not far below. Tens of thousands, 10 to 20, 20 plus. So they are recruiting men faster than they lose them in Ukraine. And this is what we can see in this chart also. This is why Ukrainian mobilization is so incredibly important, but they cannot do it without aid because you need to give the soldiers something to fight with, some equipment, some weapons. This is where the United States aid and the EU aid come into play. It's not about the soldiers who are already on the front, it's also about the new mobilized troops who will use all of that equipment. Now let's talk about the United States aid for a little bit. What does it do? The situation is so dire in the front right now, and only very recently the first aid packet from the 61 billion promised by the US has arrived. Many more will arrive, but these aid packets are not enough to give Ukrainians any counterattack capabilities. They are only enough to stabilize the front, meaning they will stop the Russian advance, which right now is going on. Right now we're at the situation in the war when you can say that the Russians have the initiative, and they are advancing very slowly, very costly, but they are advancing, occupying new villages after every 1 to 2 weeks. This is the tempo right now. For this to stop, Ukraine needs aid. It got it from the United States, but for a counteroffensive. Now, defense is a lot cheaper than offense. This 61 billion and all of the military assets that will be sent with it is enough to stop the Russian advance, but not enough to start any kind of counteroffensive. That is when European powers need to step in to fill the gaps and to give the bigger needed counteroffensive potential. We're talking about F-16s, hundreds, if not thousands, yes, you heard me, thousands of armored personnel carriers and infantry fighting vehicles and tanks, choppers, rockets, munitions, everything. I think European military warehouses need to be emptied. You might call me crazy, but I think they do need to be emptied and sent to Ukraine, all of it. If we want any kind of successful counterattack, a liberation of Ukrainian territory and the losing of Russia, they need to lose in Ukraine. Now, my friends, I'll jump the topic again. We'll talk about Russian chemical weapons because very recently, about 4 days ago, actually, the United States publicly and officially accused Russia of using chemical weapons in Ukraine. And we also have videos and photos of it. This is one of the chemical canisters dropped by the Russians to the Ukrainian trenches, one of something about 100. They dropped close to 100, something like that. And we have a drone video also, which I cannot show you, but which Russians are reacting to the screen where their drone is up above, filming a Ukrainian soldier running out of the trench, unable to breathe. This is a gas. It's like a tear gas thing. You cannot breathe. You cannot really see properly. It doesn't kill you, but you have to move in order to be able to breathe. So the Ukrainian troops will have to run out of the trenches and then they're out in the open. That's the goal. And Russians were watching that video and laughing. So we have videos and photos of Russian chemical weapons being used, and now 4 days has passed and I have not seen any kind of strong Western countries' reactions, NATO reactions, EU reactions. I want to see it. Russians respect strength and they speak strength. I have not seen a strong reaction to it. Now this same gas called chloropicrin, I'm sorry if I mess up the name, but this very same gas was used in the First World War. Now it's not a mustard, it's not the gas that actually kills you, it's softer, but still it is a chemical weapon, and under the Convention of Chemical Weapons all across the world, all countries who have joined it, Russia is not supposed to have any kind of these weapons, and officially in the numbers of their army, they don't. They don't exist on any paper. They really exist, but secretly. And we have seen them being used now against that convention. So it's yet another war crime in that endless list. Now, my friends, I'll bring a little humor back to your day because we dive into St. Petersburg, where we can see the Russian standard of living. Of course, it's the second biggest city in Russia and the second richest city in Russia, putting it in one of the best places to live in Russia, Moscow or St. Petersburg, probably. If you want to make money, make career or raise a family, these two cities are most European-like. And still, let's see what happens. Here we can see cleaners or builders, whichever they are, fighting over a thrown away broken washing machine because they probably don't have a washing machine. Of course, they have washing machines in Russia. They're sold all over the place. It's about money. Too expensive for them to buy because this builder's wage in Russia is very, very small actually compared to European minimum wages. It's still like 2 to 3 times smaller. So you cannot really buy a washing machine, and if somebody throws one away, that's your chance. Or if you're per se sent to Ukraine to loot and kill and you find a washing machine, that's your chance. That's what they do it. They really don't have washing machines. The stores have them, but they're too expensive for Russians. So if they can steal one, they will. And this guy gave up. He doesn't get the washing machine. Who is the winner? Somebody won it. Yeah, boom, these two guys won it for themselves. And now, my friends, I'll read you another analysis about how Russia is right now already in war with the Western economies, Western countries, the EU, but the EU doesn't want to acknowledge it. It's like you go into a boxing fight and the guy hits you in the face all the time and you don't hit back because you're like, I don't want to fight you, I don't want to fight you. Well, you still have to protect yourself. EU doesn't want to fight Russia. But now it's do or die. I don't think the EU wants to choose die, so it's time to do. But they're not doing right now. I'll read you the report. Several Western intelligence agencies are warning that Russia is increasing its spy operations in order to enable terrorist attacks against important infrastructure in NATO countries. We assess the risk of state-controlled acts of sabotage to be significantly increased, said Thomas Hadelwang, head of German domestic intelligence. Russian spy and sabotage activities are hardly something new, but the increased intensity is certainly something to be noted. Also, the usage of Russian diaspora, right-wing parties and organized crime are certainly something we should observe much more closely and efficiently. Here is very important. Russian diaspora, right-wing parties, yada yada. Russian diaspora is what Putin uses always to initiate a conflict. We need to protect the interest of the Russians in that specific country. Well, these Russians in that specific country are always weaponized. In Estonia also we have a Russian minority, which is the biggest minority group is the Russians, over a few 100,000 actually, and out of those a very big percentage don't speak a word of Estonian. Much of them are pro-Estonian, but a lot of them also are just pro-Russian, and they don't want to go back to Russia because they know they have good life, good pensions, European Union wages in Estonia, but they still call Estonians fascists and look for the Tsar in the east. But they don't want to live in that country. It's a very weird, conflicted situation, and Putin is weaponizing these hundreds of thousands of people in all the countries next to Russia. They exist in Finland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland and Ukraine, and now also in Western European countries who don't even know what to do with them. They cannot even recognize that they're being spied upon or that these people are being weaponized. German government or French government, for example, I don't think they even have designated or accepted the idea that this is a weaponized group in their country. They're Russians, they're immigrants, they're tourists. No, they are human weapons. Human weapons grouped together, and they can be very dangerous. But Europe is very hard to wake up on that. I do hope that changes. This also reminds us that increasing military expenditure alone won't be enough, although even this is not being done right now. We need to increase internal security and police, counterintelligence and intelligence means to combat Russian aggression. So it's not even about switching Europe to war economy. It is also about counterintelligence and internal security. All of that needs hundreds of billions. Europe is dreaming, sleeping, head is under the water, plain idiocracy and ignorance. I'm sorry, my rant, I will end my rant right now. I will find more positive notes, don't worry. Now we'll talk about Russian casualties in Ukraine. And if you look at the Ukrainian casualty numbers of the Russian armed forces, close to 500,000, then you should know the casualty is death, KIA, killed in action, wounded in action, and missing in action. So only about 1/3 of these are actually KIAs. The rest of them are wounded or missing, meaning they're taken out of the action. They are casualties, but they're not dead. And some of them will be coming back to fight again. The French intelligence estimates that Russia has incurred over 500,000 casualties, including approximately 150,000 deaths in their failed invasion of Ukraine. So 150,000 KIAs, the rest of them maimed? I don't know how to say that word. Lost an arm but still alive, French Foreign Minister Stéphane Séjourny, I don't know how to say this, in an interview with Novaya Gazeta, said that Russia's military failure is already a fact. We estimate that Russia has suffered 500,000 military losses, including 150,000 dead. And for what? 2 words suffice: for nothing. This represents the highest Western estimate to date, yet it remains highly plausible. Not long ago, the UK estimated Russian losses at 450,000. Despite incurring significant losses, Russia has been unable to capture even a single regional capital city in Ukraine. Now, this last sentence is extremely important. People right now look, yes, Russia is advancing. They are occupying new villages, small villages, and the front line is moving so that Ukrainians are retreating. But Kherson was a big regional capital city. Ukrainians liberated it. Kharkiv is a big capital city. Ever since the full-scale invasion, Russians have not been able to capture any big capital cities except for Mariupol. That's the only one, and that was in 2022. 2 years after that, nothing. They have not been able to take any big population centers. They're only able to very slowly advance in a very limited area. In the last 6 months, it's actually 200 square kilometers, 120 square miles. You know how small of an area that is compared to Ukrainian front line? It's almost nothing. So yes, Russians are advancing, but if you really zoom out, you don't even see that. My friends, we were in Kyiv walking around Maidan, and you can see me right now here in Maidan. I saw a guy singing, it was Easter. People were really happy, and I thought, okay, I could play the Estonian Forest Brothers song, Metsavenad, Forest Brothers, in Maidan, in Estonian, with the Ukrainian flag. And that's what I did. I did have to pay the guy about 500 hryvnias. I didn't have to, but I wanted to. And then he gave me the guitar and I sang in Maidan. Such a proud moment for me. And I think for Estonian language to be heard all across that square where the Ukrainian freedom started in 2014, it's very beautiful. Now, I will do Buy Me a Coffee butchering, and after that, I'll just play the whole clip, because I loved that moment so much. Alright, my friends, after 1 week and after Kyiv still butchering the Buy Me a Coffee names, are you ready? Let's go. Henry Laflekhe, Vladimir with a W, Vladimir, Jochen, Sander Ude, Jon, Roger van Brunt, Imo Totoro Brahama, Jeffrey Stromer. Thank you to these 10 people, and if you like my channel, Buy Me a Coffee link is in the description below. Become a monthly member and I'll be butchering your name to oblivion. Thank you for watching, my friends, and until my next video, which is tomorrow, so be back and subscribe. Slava Ukraini, bye bye. Cue the Forest Brothers song in Kyiv.
Seal metsas serval väikses majas, kus elasid mu vanemad. Seal metsas serval väikses majas on pesa heinud punased. Aitša, aivele, me metsa vennad oleme. Aitša, aivele, me metsa vennadest ase. Ja meil ei ole senti raha, Me peame metsas elama ja me ei saa, ei või ei taha tiiblat teenida. Aitša, raivelet, me metsavennad oleme. Aitša, raivelet, me metsavennadest sees ja sinu sõstra mustad silmad ei liian unune. See sinu sõstra mustad silmad on võitnud minu südame. Aitša, raivelet, me metsavennad oleme. Aitša, raivelet, me metsavennadest sees ja oma lippu sinimusta valget me ikka au sees hoiame ja koidib pulsi selgitame, kes meist on õige eestlane. Aitša, raivelet, me metsavennad oleme. Aitša, raivelet, me metsavennadest sees. Slava Ukraini!